Welcome to Crimson Legacy Historians, where the past is not just remembered, but brought back to life with depth and clarity. Picture this. A sharp iron blade is inches away from cutting an infant in half. The man gripping the plow is not a mad butcher, he is a king. Odysseus drags the plow through the sand, screaming nonsense, eyes wild, foaming at the mouth. He yokes an ox and a donkey together, two animals that can barely move in the same rhythm, and forces them forward while he scatters salt into his own fields. This is not farming, it is theatre, a desperate performance meant to convince the world that he has lost his mind. But one man is not convinced. Palamedes steps forward. Without hesitation, he snatches Odysseus's newborn son Telemachus from the nurse's arms and throws the baby directly into the furrow, straight into the path of the oncoming blade. The test is simple and merciless. If Odysseus is truly insane, he will keep plowing. If he is sane, he will stop. In a heartbeat, the king breaks character. He jerks the reins aside, saving the child and exposing the lie. The act is over. Soldiers seize him. The draft has begun, and Odysseus is torn away from the only life he was trying to protect. That moment on the beach tells you everything you need to know. Forget the marble statues and noble speeches. This is not a story about glory. This is the story of a man who was willing to destroy his own reputation, his land, even his sanity, just to avoid war. And he had good reason to be afraid. The year is around 1200 BC, during what historians now call the Bronze Age collapse. To those living through it, it felt like the end of the world. Egypt was weakening, the Hittite Empire was disintegrating, Mycenaean cities were burning, raiders known as the Sea Peoples were erasing entire coastlines, trade collapsed, famine spread, civilization itself was cracking. Odysseus was not a polished king on a golden throne. Archaeology shows him as a hardened chieftain, ruling from a stone fortress on Ithaca, commanding fast raiding ships. His power came from survival, not ceremony. Leave his island undefended, and it would be swallowed by chaos. The Trojan War was never about Helen. It was a massive predatory raid, desperate warlords banding together to sack a wealthy city before their own worlds collapse. Palamedes forced Odysseus into the war, and in doing so, he created a monster. Odysseus was shaped by pain long before Troy. His grandfather, Autolycus, was infamous, not for honor, but for deception, a master thief, a liar, a manipulator. When asked to name the child, he chose Odysseus, a name rooted in suffering, the one who gives pain and receives it. This was no hero of brute strength like Achilles. Odysseus mastered metis, cunning intelligence, the mind of the ambusher, the trickster, the survivor. As a youth, a wild boar nearly killed him, goring his thigh and leaving a scar that never healed. That wound became a lesson etched into flesh. You do not defeat nature with force. You outthink it, or you die. So at Troy, while others chased honor, Odysseus chased efficiency, and Palamedes paid the price. Years later, Odysseus framed him for treason, planting gold, forging letters. The Greeks, easily manipulated, stoned Palamedes to death. Odysseus watched. He did nothing. The debt was paid. As the war dragged on for 10 grinding years, heroism rotted. Achilles died, Ajax broke, strength failed, only strategy remained. Odysseus won the debate for Achilles' armor, not with muscles but with words. Ajax, humiliated, lost his mind and took his own life. Another rival erased without a blade ever drawn. By then the rules no longer mattered. Night raids, torture, deception, and finally the Trojan horse, not a trick. A psychological weapon. When Troy fell, it wasn't a battle, it was a slaughter. Temples were violated, kings butchered at altars, children thrown from walls. And though Odysseus may not have committed every atrocity himself, it was his logic that justified them. Victory came with a curse. The gods watched, and they were not pleased. The journey home was not a return, it was punishment. Drugs, monsters, temptation, madness. Odysseus survived not because he was noble, but because he was adaptable. But again and again, his greatest enemy was not fate. It was his ego. When he revealed his name to the Cyclops, he sealed his doom. Poseidon heard it, and the sea turned against him. The war was over, But the reckoning had only begun. Odysseus had destroyed a city with his mind. Now the universe would break him with it. The guilt is unbearable. Odysseus finally understands that his victory at Troy didn't just destroy a city, it killed the person who loved him most. As the weight of that realization settles, another shadow approaches. Achilles, the greatest warrior who ever lived, the man who chose a short life for eternal glory, now reduced to a ruler of the dead. Odysseus tries to flatter him, praising his undying fame. Achilles cuts him off instantly with a line that shatters the entire heroic myth of Greece. "Do not speak kindly to me of death, glorious Odysseus. I would rather be a hired servant in a poor man's house among the living than king over all the dead." Let that sink in. The ultimate hero of Greek mythology is telling you it was all a lie. The glory, the songs, the statues, worthless compared to a single breath of life. This is the moment Odysseus truly changes. He stops caring about being remembered as a hero. He stops caring about how history will sing his name. The only thing that matters now is survival, getting back to the world of the living. Then the prophet Tiresias delivers the final blow. He warns Odysseus that the road ahead will cost him everything. He speaks of the cattle of the sun god. He tells him that even if he reaches Ithaca, his home will be crawling with enemies. Odysseus returns to his ship, a haunted man. He has seen the end. He knows now that death is not glorious. It is empty, cold, and final. From this moment on, Odysseus is no longer exploring. He is running. But the sea is not finished with him. The final trials are designed to strip him of everything: his crew, his ship, and his pride. First the sirens. Forget the romantic paintings of beautiful women on cliffs. In early Greek art, sirens were bird women, scavengers. Their weapon wasn't desire, it was knowledge. They sing of Troy, they sing of pain, they promise Odysseus complete understanding of his own story. For a man broken by war, that temptation is deadly. He begs to be untied. He wants to drown in his own legend. But the ropes hold. His crew, ears sealed with wax, row on. They save him from his ego. They cannot save themselves from what comes next. At the Strait of Messina, Odysseus faces the cruelest choice of his life: Scylla or Charybdis. One path leads to a whirlpool that will kill everyone. The other leads past a monster guaranteed to kill 6 men. Total loss, or calculated sacrifice. Odysseus chooses the monster. He does not tell his crew. He arms himself, stands at the prow like a hero, knowing full well he is offering them as bait. Scylla strikes. 6 men, veterans of Troy, survivors of horrors beyond imagination, are ripped screaming into the air, calling Odysseus by name as they are eaten alive. Homer tells us this was the most pitiful sight Odysseus ever witnessed. He saves the ship, but he destroys trust. From that moment on, his men know the truth. To their captain, they are expendable. That broken bond leads directly to disaster. On the island of the sun god, trapped by storms and starvation, Odysseus leaves to pray, or perhaps to escape their accusing eyes, and falls asleep. While he sleeps, the starving men slaughter the sacred cattle. It is not rebellion, it is desperation. The gods show no mercy. When they sail again, Zeus strikes the ship with lightning. It explodes, every man drowns in the black water, all except one. Odysseus drifts alone, no crew, no command, no purpose. He washes ashore on Ogygia, the island of Calypso. This is not a paradise, it is a prison. For 7 years, Calypso offers him immortality and eternal youth, and for 7 years, Odysseus refuses. Imagine it. A man who faced gods and monsters now sits on a rock every day, staring at the horizon, crying, "Immortality without home is just another cage." He would rather die as a mortal in Ithaca than live forever nowhere. When he finally reaches Ithaca, there is no triumphant return. He wakes as a confused old man in the mist. He doesn't recognize his own land. His palace has been seized. 108 suitors devour his wealth and wait for Penelope to choose one of them. If Odysseus reveals himself, they will kill him instantly. So he becomes nobody again, disguised as a beggar, invisible. He spies. He reunites with his son. No tears, no warmth, only strategy. Father and son become conspirators. Then comes Argos, the dog who waited 20 years. Odysseus cannot react. He walks past. Argos dies. The slaughter in the hall is not a battle. It is an execution. When Odysseus strings the bow, the sound it makes is death announcing itself. Antinous falls first. The doors are sealed, weapons gone, no mercy offered. Blood pools across the floor as order is restored the only way Odysseus knows how, through absolute extermination. Even after silence falls, the cruelty continues. The disloyal maids are forced to clean the blood. Then they are hanged, not with honor, but as a warning. Peace does not follow. The families of the dead rise in fury. Civil war looms. Only Athena herself forces an end. But Odysseus cannot stay. The sea has changed him forever. In the final irony, he dies years later, not in glory, but by a poisoned spear wielded by a son he never knew, killed by the sea, just as prophecy foretold. So who was Odysseus? Not a saint, not a hero, a survivor, a liar, a warlord shaped by collapse. And that is why he endures, because beneath the myths he is painfully human, a man who survived everything and paid for it with every piece of himself.